for this steak lunch at the Palm. We're happy to be back here. This is actually a media lunch for Ring Magazine to recognize Triple G as their best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Doug Fisher, the editor-in-chief of Ring Magazine, is here. He's going to make the official presentation of the belt. It's a very high honor. All the accomplishments that Triple G has made in the ring, all the belts that he's accumulated, this is a very high honor. It's a very high honor, being recognized as the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the sport of boxing. So it just happened that we also signed the deal last week with Canelo Alvarez for the rematch, September 15th. It was so new that we don't even have a backdrop. So this is really for the specific purpose of the presentation of the Ring Magazine belt. And naturally then we'll take questions and talk about the biggest fight in boxing between Triple G and Canelo Alvarez. So Doug, if you want to make the official presentation. We've been waiting a long time actually for that belt to come in, and I know Gennady was looking forward to adding that to his collection.
It's an impressive collection. Should I speak in one of the microphones?
Yeah. You can take the handle.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not going to take too much time here. Just want to give a little bit of history about the Ring Magazine's pound-for-pound belt. We haven't had one. We haven't awarded one in several decades. It was first awarded to Pernell Whitaker in 1993. Ironically, after Whitaker faced a Mexican star, and the outcome of that bout was a very controversial draw. But the editors of Ring Magazine and most of the public knew who really won that fight. And so the editors of the Ring Magazine decided to, just off the draw, elevate Pernell Whitaker, who was #2 pound-for-pound at the time. The great Julio Cesar Chavez was #1 pound-for-pound at the time. You were probably there. You were probably working some corners there. Hey, okay. Yeah, but yeah, you were part of the, you were training some of the top pound-for-pound rated fighters at the time. A lot of interest in that showdown. And going into the fight, people said this is going to prove who's pound-for-pound #1. And despite the controversial draw, most people thought that Whitaker won, and so he was elevated to #1 pound-for-pound. And he was awarded the first Ring Magazine pound-for-pound championship belt. And he was even on the cover showing off the belt. So Gennady, your last fight was a draw, but most people know who won that fight. And even beyond weight classes, because that was looked at, and I think it was called supremacy, for middleweight supremacy. But I think beyond weight classes, you, Gennady, are the epitome of a champion. You conduct yourself as a champion. You live the life of a champion. You train like a champion. You want to fight the best, and you want to challenge yourself. And that's what real world champions do. So you have a very impressive title belt collection, but with or without the belts, the people recognize you as the best, as a champion. And that's really what pound-for-pound is. It's being the best regardless of weight class. But even when we talk about your weight class, you're doing some very special things. You're the longest reigning champion in boxing. I think you're the closest thing to Marvelous Marvin Hagler, where he just stuck his claim to be the king of the middleweight division and took on all comers. And even when he lost, controversial, people still recognize Marvin Hagler as the champ, even when he lost to my boyhood idol, Sugar Ray Leonard. But when I first met you, and I've written about this, it was in the spring or summer of 2011. And at the time, you were the WBA's interim champion. Am I right about that?
Yes.
He was preparing, and you sparred with Canelo Alvarez, he was preparing for a fight with Kasim Uma. Is that right?
Yeah.
And that fight was the first time he was elevated from the interim champion to the WBA full status champion. And he hasn't lost since. And he's had a lot of fights. And he is approaching the